tryna make it. Too many people, they don't let me down, but I keep it real, no time for easy. I'm always on that PC tryna shake my sound. See, I'm just tryna make it. I've got some people I cannot let it down. Aiming for the top of the mountain. Not there yet, but I've left the ground. Oh, I've left the ground. I'm just tryna make it, yeah, make it, yeah, yeah. Make it, yeah, make it, yeah, yeah. Oh, I've left the ground. I'm just tryna make it, yeah, make it, yeah, yeah. Make it, yeah, make it, yeah, yeah.
Don't tell me about me. Stop telling 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 me about me. I don't need you to tell me about me.
All right, look, y'all. We back. Little technical difficulty, but we back. And yep, back to creme brulee. I guess I need to say it again. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, share the video. If you don't know what happened before and why we started like this, go watch part 1. Just go watch part 1. Just go watch part 1 and you'll know what the hell why we coming in like this. Pt.2 said, I came across a young brother on YouTube recently, fresh ideas, very different approach to black topics. All right, now he said, Justin Scott, the black loneliness epidemic. Hey, look, send me a link, Pt.2, and I will check him out. I will check him out, see what he's talking about. But we're gonna jump back into where we were at, y'all. Back to Mr. Tim Wise, because yeah, we just got fucked up a little bit. But either way, though, Tim, go on back and keep cooking.
And I think there's a really important reason why those of us who are wondering what we're going to do in this moment ought not lose hope. Here's how I know this.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, Africans. I hope you're faring well when it comes to churches.
Hey, look, I need to give a shout out real quick. Like, I need to give a shout out because I'm grabbing this off of Evans from Kenya. Yeah, shout out to Evans from Kenya. But we didn't come here for you, Evan. We didn't come here for you, Evan. We came here for the video you was talking about. All right, so we go ahead. Kevin got his shout out. Got his cat shout out. But here we go.
the video, where we shall also have a deep critical analysis. Let's dive in.
Let's dive
For the
in.
last 8 years, those of us who do racial justice work and racial equity work have been on a particular mission where,
Hey, look, man, black folks ain't struggling that bad in Kenya, bro. He got an iPad. I mean, he got a MacBook. He got a MacBook and a nice little water bottle. They ain't doing that bad over there. Contrary to some people's belief, everybody's living in a mud hut, shit hut, and shit like that. Ain't doing that bad over there. Either way, though.
where we had one job, to be honest. Like, this was our job for the last 8 years of the presidency of Barack Obama. Our job as anti-racist was to actually convince white people that racism was still a thing. That was our gig for 8 years, because a lot of white folks were like, oh my God, it's so cool that racism is over. Because that black guy got elected and I totally voted for him. Which, first of all, no, you didn't, because the majority of white people never voted for Barack Obama. But oh my God, it's so cool, racism's over. Which I'm sure the women in the room will recall that day in 1988 when patriarchy was smashed in Pakistan. And you didn't even let me finish the line. Don't bite the bars before I finish them, please. Like when patriarchy was smashed in Pakistan, because Benazir Bhutto, a woman, was elected head of state, right, in Pakistan. You do remember that, women, right? Like, all of you were thinking, holy hell, I need to move to Pakistan because things are good for women. They have a woman who's the head of state, right? Nobody did that. Like, even my child at the time, who didn't even exist and wouldn't exist for another 13 years, knew, even like 13 years before her birth, like, the election of a woman in Pakistan didn't mean anything about the eradication of male supremacy and domination in Pakistan. So, but in this country, that's what we assumed about Barack Obama. White folks were like, oh my God, I'm so glad we don't have to talk about that. So for 8 years, that was our gig, trying to just hold white folks' hands. My people, my people, my people, my people. And convince them that racism was really a thing. Now, however exhausting that bullshit was for me, I can't even fathom how exhausting that was for the black and brown folks in this room, who had to go back to like reality 101 with some white folks, like, right? And yet that was the gig. So but I told you I was trying to tease the positive out of the negative. So here comes the positive. And like I said,
Before he get to it, I want to co-opt what he just said, because I've had a lot of people that I've had conversations with, and I have these type of conversations with people. I dig into the shit that actually matters, not just the how's the weather or how you been doing and all that shit. I talk about things like this with people, because I want to know where they stand on issues, to know if I even need to be around them. Because a lot of people, a lot of y'all have people around you that you don't know how they truly feel about things that you care about. A lot of white folks in my day-to-day walks feel like because they voted for Barack Obama, that racism is over with and there's nothing else we need to talk about, because they voted for him. Like, a few people voting for a guy and getting him elected ended decades and decades, centuries of harm, murder, rape, economic turmoil. That just ended it all because we voted for this one black guy. They truly think that way. FYI to all y'all folks, it didn't. And it doesn't. But keep going, Tim.
I'm not saying this is persuasive. I'm just giving you the best I got, trying to find the silver lining. The good news is, for the last 8 years, we've been having to hold people's hand and prove that racism was a real thing. The good news is, I guess we don't have to do that shit anymore.
Yeah, not with Trump in office.
Yeah,
That's
like I said, it's not real persuasive, because if the best evidence you have that things are good is the fact that things are more blatant now, if the best evidence you have that things are good is that middle school children are taunting other middle school children who happen to be Latinx with chants of build the wall, if the best evidence you have that things are better is that things are blatant because white nationalists and neo-Nazis and white supremacists are running over people in Charlottesville, the best evidence you have that things are better because they're more blatant and therefore more obvious is that we have multiple hate crimes, murders happening in New York and in College Park, Maryland, and all across this country, in Kansas. Right? And you got a dude walking into the Walmart in Thornton, which is how far from here? Not far. And shooting.
Well, here, let's take it even further, Tim. And I don't know if Tim's going to say this because I haven't watched this video all the way through. We are so far away. We're going, J. Cole said it greatly in a song. The good news is you came a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way. We got a lot of folks that came a long way, but then they going in the wrong direction. We're at the point in America where we're raising money, y'all. Because I covered it in the video, and I know y'all seen it. We're at a point in America where white folks are raising money for a white woman that called a 5-year-old autistic black kid a nigger. That's where we are in America. Fuck the whole Jews and like Jews will not replace us, tiki torch toting motherfuckers. That ain't shit. A woman got caught on camera and admitting to calling a 5-year-old black autistic kid a nigga, and she raised almost $1 million in America from white people. That's where we are right now. That's where we are. But you know, it's just another Tuesday, y'all. Just another Tuesday. Let's keep going, Tim.
Latinx folks, they didn't even report that the first 3 days after the crime. They didn't even tell you that he targeted Latinx folks and actually shot them on purpose and had a history of abusing Latinx folks in his apartment complex, or wherever the hell it was he lived, that he was actually openly hostile to them. They didn't tell you that. In between, the dude in New York, who happens to be Muslim and ran over folks with his truck, we heard about that. And we ascribe that to his religion. This dude, Scott Ostrom, they tell you finally in the reports, had stacks of Bibles in his house. No furniture, but stacks of Bibles. A futon and a bunch of Bibles. Now, if it was a stack of Qurans, I have a feeling that we've been having a different conversation in this country about Scott Ostrom. But you can have a stack of Bibles and be a white man and go and shoot Latinx folks, and they don't call it even call it a hate crime, let alone an act of terrorism. See, that's the country in which we live, and that is not even in my notes, but it needed to be said. And so it's not really a silver lining, is it? Because if the silver lining is things are more blatant now, and now we can't really ignore it, but people have to die in order for us to not ignore it, that's not really progress. But at least it does tell us one thing. If you can't see it now, you're never going to see it. And I can't waste my time on you. And I can't bother with trying to convert you. At some point, you're going to have your own come to Jesus moment before you realize the evidence right in front of you that black and brown folks have been trying to tell all of us in the white community forever, and that we've been ignoring. Because if you cannot see it now, you are not going to see it. And the rest of us have to move on without you and build a movement without you. And you'll either join up or you won't. You'll either figure it out or you won't. But there comes a point where we cannot pander to those who can't even see the obviousness in front of them.
Okay, and y'all just wait, because I'm going to put it on some shirts like this. Everybody ain't going to make the fucking boat. And you should not feel no type of way about the people that don't make it. We don't have time to be sitting around trying to save folks that don't want to be saved. Same thing when we talk about it when it comes to relationships. Same thing when we talk about it when it comes to politics. When it comes to issues in society. Those who don't want to be saved, fuck it, leave them. You got folks in your family that you ain't trying to help, and they don't want to listen to you. Leave them. We don't have time to keep trying to save people that don't want to be saved. And I know that sounds fucked up to say, but you need to put your feelings to the side and think logically. If they want to be saved, they'll do what it fucking takes to get saved. You don't want to, I throw you this life raft. You don't want to take it? And motherfucker gonna be drowning tonight.
There comes a point where we have to treat people like adults and tell them to act like such and not as children, despite their age, and act as though we have an obligation to show them the light. The light is real clear for those who are willing to open their eyes. So we just have to do our work, you know? But here's what really concerns me. And this is actually a bigger concern than all of that, which I just said. I'm really concerned that when we have this resurgence of overt bigotry that we can all look around and that we can see, it makes it especially easy for the rest of us in the white community. I don't mean the racist overtly. I don't mean the white supremacist. I don't mean the neo-Nazis. I mean the nice white liberal folks, for what that's worth. And I've been white a long time, so let me assure you, it is worth nothing. It allows those of us who are nice white liberals to separate ourselves from those folks, right? It allows us to claim distance from them. It allows us to say, thank God we're not like those people in Charlottesville. Thank God we're not like David Duke. We're not like Richard Spencer. We're not like Matt Heimbach. We're not like Andrew Anglin. We're not like those dudes in Charlottesville marching around with their tiki torches. Because, you know, nothing says white supremacy like white boys walking around with oversized Polynesian candles trying to be badass. Nothing is more badass than that. And wearing polo shirts and khakis, because that's intimidating as hell. Right? But see, we like to, and I just made fun of them because it was fun to do, but we don't need to separate ourselves from them. When white, liberal, and progressive people do that, we actually become part of the problem. Right? This idea that, oh my God, thank God we're not like them. Those are the racist white people and we're the good white people. But here's what I know for a fact. David Duke and Richard Spencer and Matt Heimbach and Andrew Anglin and those boys in Charlottesville, I'll tell you what they're not to blame for. They might be to blame for the murder of Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, but I'll tell you what they're not to blame for. They're not to blame for the fact that right now the typical white family in America has 12 times the net worth of the typical typical black family in America. They're not to blame for that. They're not to blame for the fact that the typical white family has 10 times the net worth of a typical Latinx family. They're not to blame for that. That's about history and the accumulated advantage of some and the disadvantage of others. And David Duke wasn't in a position to make that happen. Richard Spencer wasn't in a position to make that happen. They're not to blame for the fact that black households headed by college graduates have less wealth on average by about 1/3 than white households headed by a high school dropout. Let me repeat that. Black households headed by a college graduate have 1/3 less wealth than white households headed by somebody that didn't even finish 12th grade. So tell me again the piece about how education is the great equalizer, please.
Let's stop right there because somebody got to make that make sense. But I know Bernie Mac got something to say about it.
That ain't right.
And people will sit around here kowtowing every day and saying that black folks sit around here and complain. Get off your ass, pick yourselves up by your bootstraps and do it. Bitch, shut the fuck up talking to me. Every time I hear that shit, I get triggered. Because I'm one of these black dudes that work 40 plus hours at the bare minimum every week. Then bring my bitch ass home and do YouTube. Another fucking job, no matter how you want to categorize it. Get on here, make content, and put it out here for y'all to look at. Do live streams right now. It's going to take up 2 hours of my life trying to grind. And they tell me I need to work harder? When this motherfucker ain't even got a high school fucking diploma, but making $100,000 because his daddy knew somebody. We live in a society where it ain't about what you know. It's about who you fucking know. And if you know the people that run the game, you in a good place. You're in a good place. You can work it out. But it's always that stereotype and that narrative that they try to push. That you're just not doing it. No, this game was structured a certain way for certain people to win. And I want white people to truly understand this for the ones who push back against it. If you pushing back against it and you ain't worked over a couple $1 million, the game was structured against your dumb ass too. The only problem is your dumb ass defending something that keeps you fucked up. We have so many people in America that cut off their nose and spike their face. They think they harming somebody else. Hold on, y'all see it. They think they harming somebody else while they fucking themselves. That's why they have that term, voting against your own best interest. Because you think it's going to hurt somebody else. But it's really going to hurt you. So when Trump get ready to take your Medicaid away, because the majority of y'all live off Medicaid, go ahead, don't blame nobody else, blame yourself. When he takes your fucking food stamps, which majority of y'all live off of food stamps, don't fucking say nothing. When he take your Section 8, don't fucking say nothing. You think when you got rid of affirmative action and DEI, all your white women that got a job, blame yourself for that, because you cost them bitches their job. You thought you were hurting somebody else, and you really was hurting yourself. Just to prop up people, your own people, that are fucking you over. Your own people. The only people that white people can complain about is other white people. They can't complain about nobody else. They can't complain about nobody else in this country. If you really take the time and look at who runs this shit, who has always run this shit, and fuck you gonna look at black people like Latino people, Native Americans and Indians and Chinese. You need to look at yourself, bro. You look at yourself. Look at your own people, bro. Your own people been running this. Ain't nobody ran America in the history of America but white people. But they blame everybody else for their fucking problems and then get mad when black folks call them out for the shit they did. Just shut the fuck up. Let's keep going.
And how if black folks just valued education enough and did what they were supposed to do and played by the rules, they would be at the same level as white people. Tell me that again while you reflect on that data, which nobody's told you until tonight. Nobody running for office, nobody asking for your vote has told you that. But that's the truth. And David Duke didn't do it. Richard Spencer didn't do it. Matt Heimbach didn't do it. Andrew Anglin didn't do it. The Klan didn't do it. They're not to blame for the fact that right now, unarmed black folks, 3.2 times more likely than unarmed white folks to be shot by police, even when they are not aggressing against the officers. That's not David Duke. He didn't have a badge and a gun. It's not Richard Spencer. He doesn't have a badge and a gun. That's just average, everyday white folks on police forces around this country, and black folks unarmed, 3.2 times more likely to be shot.
Watch that random white person that comes around this channel, or that random coon ass, Jimbo ass black person come around and say this.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
But I'll sit here and tell you. I'll sit here and tell you till the cows come home. All y'all people that got that hate in your heart, you need to do one thing and one thing only. Let that shit go. Because that ain't helping you out none. And just because you feel some type of way don't make it reality. Just throwing it out there for you. Tim, keep cooking.
By police than white folks. See, that's on us. That's not on them. That's on us, because we've remained silent in the face of that black death and that brown death. We've remained silent. We haven't done enough. We haven't said enough. We like to put it on Nazis, though, because we're not Nazis. Thank God we're not Nazis. We're smart enough to not vote for Nazis. If the best thing you can say for yourself is that you know better than to vote for Nazis, you need to start over again, right? The best thing that we can say about ourselves is that we're good enough not to be white nationalists marching with tiki torches in Charlottesville defending Confederate statues. We need to start over again, because these problems are systemic and they got nothing to do with Nazis. They have to do with us. They have to do with our neighbors. They have to do with our family. They have to do with our colleagues and our friends and people that we know and live around. They might have to do with us. David Duke and Richard Spencer not to blame for the fact that right now, black folks are 13% of drug users, but 37% of people arrested and incarcerated for a drug offense. That's not on David Duke. They're not to blame for the fact that right now in the state of Colorado, y'all got some white folks getting rich. Real rich. Real rich. Selling the same product on the same block. On the same block that black and brown folks were selling the same product on 10 years ago, and they're still doing time right now in prisons in this state. David Duke didn't cause that. But you got some white weed millionaires making money selling the same product and doing it with like tasting notes and shit.
That ain't right. That ain't right. It ain't right.
We need to realize the country that they live in and realize the reality that they live in. We have people still sitting in jail right now that were convicted of drug charges, whatever drug charges it is. And in the state that they were convicted in, they've legalized them selling drugs. Oh yeah, we're doing recreational marijuana now, y'all. We're doing that. You got fucking 10,000 people locked up in prison right now for selling marijuana. So you're not going to let them out now that you decided now that you want it to be legal because you've realized that you can make some fucking money off of? No, we're going to leave them in prison and keep working them as slaves, because that's the only time America can actually do slaves. That's why we have more people enslaved now in the prison system than we did ever as slaves. We're going to leave them in there, not free them. Americans don't speak up for that. We're not going to open our mouth and say anything. The same people that sold the exact same thing that you are giving a business license to got to sit in prison. If that don't bother somebody, if they made speeding legal, no longer a crime, and I'm sitting in jail for speeding, and they have made speeding legal, bitch, you better let me the fuck up out of here. You better let me the fuck up out of here. So you telling me I got locked up for selling marijuana, but now they selling marijuana on the same corner that I was selling marijuana on, and I got locked up for it? Think about this. Look, that's wicked. I'm gonna just put it like that. That's fucking wicked. That's wicked. Hurricane said that ain't right. Hey, Hurricane, one more time for Hurricane. One more time, because it's some real ass shit. No, wrong one. I'm gonna click on the wrong one.
That ain't right. That ain't right. It ain't right.
Tim, keep cooking. Keep cooking, Tim.
Why the hell you need tasting notes with your weed? What the hell? Why you like notes of apricot and shit? Like, why can't you just smoke weed? Like, just don't tell me what kind of cheese to pair my weed with. I don't need to pair weed with cheese. I got Cheetos. That's all I need to pair my weed with. How the hell did white people gentrify weed? Like, it's bad enough you gentrify the neighborhood, then you just like gentrify the product. You're like, watch this. And that's not in the notes either, but I mean, honest to God, right? So David Duke's not to blame for that disparity. David Duke's not to blame for any of that. Richard Spencer's not to blame for any of that. And I didn't need any of that data, by the way, that I just shared with you to tell me that the war on drugs wasn't about drugs. I could have told you that from personal experience. And I can tell you this now because the statute of limitations has expired and they cannot touch me. So 30 years ago, I'm coming back from I was in college at Tulane in New Orleans, and I'm coming back.
He was on that shit. He was selling that shit
in a rental car from San Antonio to New Orleans, and I get stopped for speeding about 13 miles over the speed limit in Gonzales, Texas. I don't recommend this, by the way. I don't know if you've been to Gonzales. Like, one person is like, "Oh hell, I know where this story's going. Holy hell, Gonzales, Jesus, this is going to be terrible." I get stopped in Gonzales, and officer comes to and I'm nervous because a couple of reasons. Number one is nobody likes getting stopped by cops. Like, even white people, we don't like it. We know it's different than black and brown folks, but like, we don't like it either. Like, nobody likes getting stopped by the cop because, you know, for white people, they might actually give you a ticket. Obviously, for black and brown folks, the concern is quite a bit more than that. But nonetheless, we're still nervous as hell, right? So I'm nervous, but I'm specifically nervous because I know what's in the car. And I don't mean debate evidence. Right, it's me and my debate partner, and then another 2-person team and the coach, 5 people in the rental car. And I know that in the briefcase of the coach is 2.5 ounces of weed. Oh, it gets worse. 2.5 ounces of weed, an 8 ball of cocaine, 12 sheets of acid, and 16 hits of ecstasy. Y'all think about that for a minute.
It was on that
For those
shit.
of you, I like how every time I tell this story, though, what's funny, literally every time I tell this story, there are white folks in the audience who are like, "Oh yeah, oh hell yeah!" Like, they're really excited for me. Like, I'm carrying on me tonight. Like, y'all, this shit was 30 years ago. Settle down. Like, this is not. And my asthma came back, so I don't do this anymore. Like, this is an old story. So just settle down. Y'all got weed shops. Just take care of yourself. I got nothing for you. But anyway, we got a lot of drugs in the car. And if y'all don't know about illegal narcotics and you don't understand what all those references were and how much drugs that really is, like, let me just assure you, whatever you understand about personal consumption, yeah, that's way more than you could possibly consume. So that's enough that if they catch you with it, you will go down for possession with intent to distribute. Trust me. So I'm nervous because they pulled me over and I know that's what's in the car. And so the cop comes to the window and he says, "I need to see your license and registration." I'm like, "Well, it's a rental car. Here's the registration information, and I'll get my license." And so I pull my wallet out and I'm looking for it. I can't find it. Having a hell of a time finding it. I can't find it. And it's mostly because I'm nervous and I'm starting to sweat. It's been like 4 seconds since he came to the window and I'm already like, oh my God. And it felt like it took 3 weeks. It probably was like a minute and a half at most, right? But it felt like it was 3 weeks and I cannot find my license. And at one point he says, "So do you want to come back to the police cruiser and try to find it there? The light's better there." And I'm thinking, I don't really want to go back there, but you've offered it and I guess I'm going. So yeah, I'll go. And my voice cracked like I was 13 and going through puberty again. So I go back. I'm nervous as hell. He can obviously tell I'm nervous. I go and sit in his car. By the way, if you've never had the pleasure of sitting in the front of a police cruiser, he was right. The lighting is way better in there. You can see every damn thing in there. And I'm sitting there trying to find my license and I still can't find it. I keep looking and I keep looking and I keep looking and I cannot find it. And I'm obviously fumbling and I'm obviously nervous. But I turn the little plastic, things that you keep your credit cards and stuff in. And at one point, but I do come across my fake ID because that's important. And he sees it and he goes, "Isn't that it?" And I'm like, no. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. That's like an arts and crafts project or some shit that I did for fun, for extra credit. I don't know what, even though it said Maine driver's license on it. The reason it said Maine, as in the state of Maine, driver's license, is that we were in Louisiana and we figured nobody knows what the hell a Maine driver's license even looks like, so we can just make this up and nobody's going to know that it's fake, you know? But he looked at it, he said, "Isn't that it?" I'm like, no. And he starts to reach for it. And just as he starts to reach for it, I find the actual Tennessee license and I pull it out. Here it is. And he goes, "Are you sure that's the one you want to go with?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm really sure this is definitely the one. I'd like to stick with this one. Thank you. Yes, I'm totally going to stick with this one. Thank you, if that's okay." And he goes, "That's fine." And he writes the number down and he issues me a $75 ticket and he sends me on my way. Now, if you believe that would have worked out that way, if I'd been black or brown in Gonzales, Texas, or anywhere in this country in 1987 or yesterday, you are not paying attention. And I do not mean to this lecture, I mean to life in your country.
Reality.
In fact, if I displayed that level of nervousness, if I had demonstrated very clearly in his presence a fake ID that his comment signifies he knew was fake, that's why he asked me if I wanted to go with that one versus the other one. If you think that a person of color would have been treated the same way, you're not paying attention, which is my long way of telling you that the only reason I'm standing in front of you today and the only reason that you know who in the hell I am is because of white privilege and the institutional racism.
Let me stop right there real quick, like, and then let me go and get my good old.
You're goddamn right.
And for anybody that would sit around here and say, "Oh, that's not true," I work with people who have told me some of the craziest things they have done. On a daily basis, I watch them break the law, and they are never, ever, ever pulled over and arrested for it. They've done great things in their life. When it comes to the laws that we have on the books in America, they've broken all of them and have never been held accountable for it. There is a thing called white privilege. And for a lot of folks in America, which is majority of America as of right now, not going to be that way in about 10 years, privilege is invisible to those who have it. That's why a lot of folks look around and be like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? I didn't do anything. What do you mean?" You have privilege. You just don't know you have it. You think that's normal. You really think that's fucking normal. It's not normal. Privilege is invisible to those who have it, y'all. We got Reckless Ray up in the building. He said, "LOL, let me tell you about the sheriff's allowing me to drive home drunk after getting pulled over for drunk driving." He said, "I guess I got that privilege." Nah, you just probably ran across a cop that wasn't trying to goddamn run your ass. I don't look. Did you? Matter of fact, Ray, you would have to actually tell that story. You would actually have to tell that story. And I got some ears and I'm willing to listen. But let's keep going though.
And the institutional racism of the drug war, because otherwise I did hard time for at least 20 years, if not still today, in the state of Texas for drug possession with intent to distribute. So that's an important thing to note when you think about crime and fear and who we fear and who we don't fear and where we are as a country. And none of that is about David Duke. And none of that is about guys that burn crosses in the night. None of that's about guys that wear swastikas on their sleeve. And none of that's about skinheads. That's about a culture that we...
Y'all, I got a video that I wanted to post the other day about somebody burning the cross in their yard. And I couldn't even post it because YouTube said it violated YouTube guidelines. And y'all know we got naked yoga on YouTube, right? You know, in breastfeeding videos, a bitch got their titties out and shit. People be butt naked. But I couldn't post a video of a skit. Well, not even a skit, just a clip from Reno 911. If any of y'all ever watched Reno 911, yeah, look, go back and watch it again. It's a really good show. It's a funny show. But a dude was burning the cross in his front yard, and he had on the hood and everything. He said, "That's not a cross. That's a T for tolerance." I thought it was a fucking hilarious. I was like, dude, this is hilarious. I want to post it. I want to post that clip. Couldn't even post it. But nah, he ain't lying. And say, Reckless said, "It's a good one, brother." He also said, "I've gotten into it with racist cops too. They exist." Yeah, man. Look, they out there, man. They out there. But I really did want to I really did with y'all. I'm being dead serious. I wanted to post that video so bad, but I can't get another community guideline straight. I can't. I cannot. But either way, though, I'm sorry. Let's keep going. I'm sorry, Tim. I'm interrupting your speech.
We as a society haven't done enough to eradicate that it is run by people who are by and large, at least overtly appalled by those people I just mentioned, and yet they do the bidding of them every day. And we need to be clear about that. It's not white nationalists, at least not in the overt sense, who are attacking those football players who are taking a knee peacefully on Sundays. That's just average, everyday white folks, isn't it? That's just average folks. And I didn't intend to speak about this, but about 6 weeks ago, I realized I had no choice because I started to realize that this whole thing that's going on with the NFL and the reaction from some quarters of the white community to what is going on with these protests is like the perfect metaphor for the racial divide in this country. You cannot get any more perfect than this. This actually is a metaphor for the whole history of the divide between white folks and people of color in this country. Because what you have is people of color raising their voice against demonstrable injustice, provable injustice, injustice for which there's no rebuttal. And then you got white folks saying, y'all have lost your mind and you're upsetting my day. Which is exactly what white folks said when the sit-ins hit Nashville, where I'm from. I know because my grandmother was one of them. My mom's mom was one of them. She wasn't a bigot. She was never one of those white people that would have yelled at black children as they were integrating a formerly all-white school. That would have been tacky. And if there was one thing that white women in the early 1960s in the South valued, it was class. So she would never have been one of those white people, but she was the kind of white person that when the sit-in struck in Nashville 2 weeks after they began in Greensboro on Feb 4 or Feb 1 of 1960, 2 weeks later they hit Nashville, and her thing is, I wanted to go shopping downtown, but I'm not going to be able to now. Why do they have to do this? If I go shopping, there might be a riot. Oh my God, when am I going to get to go shopping again? It's just the inconvenience of it all. You know, it's just the inconvenience of raising issues of injustice. My God, why do you have to put us out? Well, because if protest doesn't inconvenience you, it's not working. That's sort of the point. So when you say some...
I need to stop right there with that one because Tim said something. Because a lot of folks sit around here and talk shit about when all these different people, for whatever reason they're protesting. Well, you think your protest is gonna mean something when you're inconveniencing other folks? Yeah. Because it makes them acknowledge what the fuck you were out there for. People could just protest and it bothered no one. What the fuck would change? I want to ask those people who sit here and talk shit about people protesting. Now, I truly believe that you need to have a moral standpoint and an honest grievance when you're protesting. But when people protest, what the fuck do you think they're out there for? They're trying to change something. If it doesn't bother the people that don't give a fuck, look, my life is so great. I have millions of dollars and I don't fucking have to worry about it. God damn it, they're in the street. Why are they in the street? That's going to make you fucking think about it. It's supposed to bother you. And the sad part, it's a constitutional right, too. For all my constitutionalists around here, I always want to talk about, I believe in the Constitution. But as soon as somebody do something that bothers them, they were like, fuck them. I'm like, no, you're not a constitutionalist. You're not a law and order motherfucker. You elected a law and order candidate that broke the law and fucked the order up. It's like, come on, man.
Stupid shit like, I just want to watch the game on Sunday. Why can't I just watch the game? I just want to watch the game. Ainsley Earhart, who actually makes other Fox News hosts look intelligent. She actually said this like 2 weeks ago. She says, I just want to eat pizza and popcorn and watch football. First of all, like upgrade your Sunday food. First of all, like if what you're eating during a game is football and like pizza and popcorn, what the hell? Like, do better. First of all, like just on a
chicken wing
level, like
chicken wing.
Like, that, dude, come on, like.
Barbecue.
But beyond that, like, what does that mean? It's just a white person whining about how black folks are putting her out, reminding her of stuff she don't be reminded of at a time when she doesn't want to be reminded of it. This is the whole history of America, is black folks raising issues and white folks saying there isn't really a problem. Y'all are seeing things. That's the perfect metaphor. This isn't about the flag. It's not about the national anthem. Although if you know the history of the national anthem, it damn well ought to be about the national anthem.
Hey, I got to do it again, y'all. I'm sorry for pausing.
You're goddamn right.
Motherfucker better actually go, man. Matter of fact, I want to challenge everybody in here tonight that's watching. Go Google the United States national anthem. And I want you to read that motherfucker. Don't listen to it. Read it. Read it. And you wonder why motherfuckers was kneeling during it? Go read that shit. Go read the third stanza. Go read it. And that's something that they play every goddamn sporting event. They play it at the beginning. They play it all the time. Anytime we got anything going on in America, they play that shit. Go read it. And you think you'll figure out why black folks don't fuck with that shit. Or at least the ones that know don't fuck with it. Go read it. Google that shit and read it, y'all.
If you actually knew the history of that song and you still wanted to sing it, there's a problem with you. Because Francis Scott Key was a vicious white supremacist and defender of slavery. And the third verse of that song, which none of y'all learned growing up, I didn't learn it growing up. They didn't teach it to us, but it was in the song until the 1920s, until they finally took it out because it didn't quite sound right. Right? The third verse of that song is a revenge fantasy, a white supremacist revenge fantasy in theory against the British, because that song was written during the War of 1812 after the Battle of Fort McHenry in Baltimore. But in actual language, you read the lyrics, it's a revenge fantasy against black folks enslaved who were insufficiently patriotic and sided with the British because the British said, if you fight for us, we'll free you. And in Maryland, they weren't going to do that.
Hey, hold on. Let me make sure everybody knows this, because you know they always say, I get this from my conservative folks all the time, especially the ones that are on the right. Whites freed you. The Republican Party freed you. No, black folks fought for their own goddamn freedom. You were a part of it just like we were a part of it. There has never, and I repeat, there has never been a war in America that black folks did not fight in. So I don't care what revisionist history your granddaddy or your grandpappy, grandmama, grandmammy want to tell you. There has never been a war in America that black folks have not fought in, including the ones to free themselves. But Tim Wise going to tell you the real history, because they ain't going to teach your kids that in school. They're not going to tell them the truth in school. Because a lot of these schools are just indoctrinating people to be goddamn worker ants. And a lot of my folks have failed for the worker ant shit. You sheep. But that's where sheepdog come in handy. You know, sheepdog come in handy, tell you what the fuck it is, man. I'm saved from them goddamn wolves, baby. Let's keep going.
So when black folks weren't sufficiently patriotic in defending a system that enslaved them, Francis Scott Key fantasized in the third verse about the blood of slaves running in the streets of Baltimore. That's the history of that song. So even though that's not what the football players are protesting, it damn well ought to be what we're protesting every single day. Because as a national song, that's a pathetic excuse for an anthem.
I love how you see
that's
it.
Not what they're not complaining about the military. Good Lord, what kind of ignorance does it take to believe these are protests about the military? Well, let's think about it. I mean, these are people that are protesting, and Colin Kaepernick told you why he was doing it. Everybody's told you. It's about inequality in the justice system, which is to say it's about the disparate treatment of black folks in the justice system in particular, which is a direct violation of this little thing in the Constitution called the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause of that amendment, which is to say not only is this protest not disrespecting the military, keep in mind who the soldiers actually took a pledge and took an oath to defend. They didn't take an oath to defend the flag. No soldier ever died for a flag. If you think soldiers died for the flag, you're a sucker, and so were they. They didn't die for a flag. They didn't die for a song. They actually take an oath to the Constitution of the United States. That's the only thing that they actually pledge any oath to. So that means that not only are the soldiers not disrespecting them, but that any soldier who took their oath seriously would take a knee with them every week to actually protest the inequalities of the justice system. And if you're not willing, if you're a soldier that's not willing to take a knee on behalf of the Constitution, then please do not lecture the rest of us about how we're disrespecting your service. You took an oath, defend it.
And I'm gonna just say this too. Let me come up full screen so I can put this shit on camera. For all of my fellow military members, y'all see this right here? Because y'all all know I served in the Marine Corps. For all of my military members that defend that bullshit, go fuck yourself. I mean that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, the depths of my soul. I mean that. You have betrayed the oath that you put on, and it don't end when you get the fuck out the service. It ends the day you die. Just because people are doing things that you don't like, you vowed an oath. You took the oath. You raised your right hand. Matter of fact, I almost left my left hand. You raised your right hand at MEPS, wherever your MEPS was, and swore that oath like everybody else. Just because you don't want to take it seriously, that's not my fucking problem. But you swore to protect everybody's rights. You swore to protect that Constitution. And you disavow it every goddamn time you look at this motherfucking clown in the White House right now. Every time you see a cop shoot somebody in the back, you disavow it every time. Shut the fuck up about your sir. I do not respect any military member. I'm standing 10 toes on that. I do not respect any military member that is okay with any type of institution in America, whether it's the police, politicians, or whatever, that trample over anybody's constitutional rights and disrespect them. Like, bro, I can't get behind that. I can't get behind that. Fuck all y'all that stand with that shit. Fuck all y'all that support Donald Trump. Yep. All y'all military members that support him. Fuck y'all. Because you disavowed your oath. You put a 34 felon in the goddamn White House. If you want to talk about other Democratic presidents, fine, go ahead. Joe's sleepy. He had goddamn dementia. I ain't got no problem with that. Oh, we gonna talk about your boy. 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 And we not gonna stop talking about your boy. Matter of fact, we ain't made it 1 year and we still talking about your boy. But nah, man. Fuck all them people that you served in the military. You swore oath to uphold the Constitution, and you perfectly fine with people constitutional rights getting violated on the regular. Y'all are pieces of shit. You ain't nothing but a goddamn fucking demon in goddamn human fucking flesh. That's all you is. A human in demon flesh. Well, no, you're a demon in human flesh. I'm sorry, I fucked it up. Either way, though, let's keep going.
But see, we can't hear that. White America writ large. I'm not talking about every white person. I want to be clear now. I'm talking about white America writ large as a corporate entity. Because we're a corporate entity. We have incorporation papers and shit. Like, it's a real formal thing. White America is a formal thing. Not all white folks are bought into it, and some people of color are. But I'm just saying, that's true now. It's true.
Man, call them out. Call them out.
White supremacy is a system.
And don't nobody get their fucking feelings. I don't want to hear nobody in the back trying to say this because he called out black folks for doing the shit. I don't want to hear this.
You need to leave. That is disgusting.
Nah, Tim need to stay right here and say it again. Because we got some fucking coons in our own community. Officer Tatum, Tim Scott. I can go on for days about these motherfuckers that turn on their own folks to promote bullshit, evil, injustice. Tell them about it, Tim. Tell them about it, Tim Wise. Tell them.
That works on the colonized. You don't just colonize people's lands, you colonize their mind. So white supremacy can work on anybody, right? Mostly works on my folks, but it can work on other people. There are women that internalize sexism and misogyny, right? There are LGBTQ folks that internalize straight supremacy and cisgendered supremacy. There are poor folks who hate themselves for being poor, right? It's not just about the dominant group internalizing superiority. It's about marginalized groups internalizing their own inferiority. So it happens. But my point is that we don't, by and large, particularly in the white community, want to hear any of this, because to us, we can't see through the lens of black and brown America. We can't understand that, and this is the metaphor of the NFL protest. It's about white folks not being able to see the reality that people of color live. So when black folks take that knee on Sunday, it's like, how dare you? That doesn't even make sense to us. And especially because you're a spoiled millionaire that makes all this money. Because white folks really don't like it when black folks make more money than us. In case y'all hadn't noticed, we have a real problem with that. We have no problem with white folks that make more money than us because we think eventually we're going to be them. So if Colin Kaepernick has an $11 million contract, which he had last year, he doesn't have it now. But he had an $11 million contract and folks lost their mind. How dare he? Ungrateful. Find another country where you could make $11 million throwing a ball around. Okay. And Donald Trump, find another country where you could take over a real estate portfolio worth $237 million from your daddy in the early 1980s when property in New York was cheap and the city was bankrupt. Find another country where you could inherit that kind of wealth and become a billionaire, please. And when you find that country, feel free to move to it, because there is no such place. But we don't make the same judgment for him. See, white folks can criticize America. Black folks cannot. Patriotism is for black people. Did y'all not know that? Patriotism is for people of color. Patriotism is what people of color have to show just to be appreciative of all they've been given. That's what folks said when these protests struck off. All that we've given you. And then folks were like, y'all are just ungrateful. All you do is play ball. Well, all y'all do is buy tickets to see us play ball. So at some point, feel free to stop buying tickets, stop buying jerseys, stop going to the games, or play the damn game yourself and see if anybody comes to see your pathetic ass throw a ball around and run down the field.
You're goddamn right.
But when white folks complain about America, white people can actually make a whole campaign slogan and a pretty little hat that's based on a criticism of America. Because when I make a hat that says "Make America Great Again," did I not just pretty much tell you that my opinion of America is that it sucks right now? Like, that's pretty much the implicit message of that hat. The message is America sucks and needs to be made great again, because right now it's terrible. If a black person were to say that, if a brown person were to say that, if a person of color of any kind were to say that, folks would call them unpatriotic, ungrateful, hateful, tell them to find another country. A white dude says that and white folks will make him president. That tells you all you need to know about this country.
And I don't know if y'all know, for somebody like me that's been critical of the United States, and I think a lot of people that go to the service that actually don't get brainwashed into the shit or have family influence outside shit, they actually see America for what it is, especially if they deploy. If you deployed, I think a lot of y'all get it. When y'all criticize America and you're black, bro, they will tell you to go back to your country. You know how many times I've been told to go back to Africa? And they just disregard the whole history of, nigga, I don't know where in Africa I need to go, bitch. Y'all gonna tell me where I need to go? Because your people erased my entire history. My history pretty much began in America. Because you didn't want me to speak my native tongue. You didn't allow us to even do none of that. But they'll tell you to go back to fucking Africa. And this is people that ain't even fucking served. They tell me they the real patriots. Ain't never lifted a fucking finger for this goddamn country. Nothing in the defense of this country. And tell somebody that been to 2 fucking wars that got shot that they not patriotic, but they are. That's fucking crazy, y'all. That's fucking crazy. But, you know, look. I'm just going to say this right now, and I ain't trying to be mean, but I am going to come up on camera to say this. Look, I ain't trying to be mean. But the Satan got a lot of vacancies right now, and a lot of folks already done booked their apartment. Just putting it like that. A lot of y'all motherfuckers done booked y'all apartment, because y'all bitches going to be burning for a while.
But that's the whole metaphor of race in America. People of color say something's wrong, and white folks are like, y'all are seeing things. We don't understand what you're talking about. My goodness, we can't even get our head around it. And if this were just a common, like, modern phenomena, maybe we could write it off to mere ignorance. People just don't know, right? And I get it. Like, I get it. If you're like 17 or something and you just haven't really been exposed to the reality of this, I can understand your ignorance. But see, there's a difference between ignorance just like in the formal sense, right? Ignorance in like the grammatical, just formal definitional sense of that word is just not knowing some stuff, right? And when you're just ignorant about some stuff, it's no big deal. Like, if I give you some information that fills in the gaps of your knowledge about stuff you don't know, there's no reason to get pissy about it. You just go, oh my gosh, that was really, I appreciate you helping me out with that. I didn't understand. Like, I'm ignorant about like physics and stuff, calculus, all kinds of math beyond like 7th grade, you know? So if you like told me how to do like calculus really easily, I would be so appreciative. I'd be like, oh my God, I had no idea it was that easy. Thank you. Oddly enough, when you tell people about white supremacy and its reality in America, they don't thank your ass for that. They don't actually go like, oh my God, thank you for filling in the gaps of my information. They get angry because this isn't a new phenomenon. This is intergenerational.
They call your ass a complainer. They sit there and tell you to stop having a victim mentality. This making any sense to any of y'all? When you point out wrongdoing, they tell you to stop crying like a little bitch and just keep going. We're not here to fix the problem. We just don't want you calling the problem out. That's what majority of white America is on. Especially if it's a problem that pertains to them. Like, if it pertains to them, man, them motherfuckers ain't trying to hear none of that shit. like, let's be real.
Right? The idea that white folks can't hear this black and brown truth, it's an intergenerational thing. So you can go back to the early 60s, 1961, when the freedom rides and the sit-ins were in full swing. Now, this is stuff that in retrospect, we look back on and we think of those people as some of the greatest freedom fighters in the history of this country, don't we? Like they're secular saints now. We look back at the freedom riders, and we look back at the sit-in activists, and we look back at Dr. King, and we look back at all these folks, and we view them as secular saints. But in 1961, when polls were taken, 70% of white Americans said the sit-ins and the freedom riders were doing the wrong thing, and their actions were going to be more hurtful than helpful, and they were unnecessary. That's what 70% of white folks said. 70% of white folks were like, there's no need for this. It's messing up my day. Right? 1962, Gallup asked white folks, do you think black children have the same chance to get a good education as white children? He says no. It's real easy to get this question wrong. But in 1962, 85 out of 100 white folks answered yes. 85% of white folks were like, oh yeah, everything's fine. 1963, Gallup asked white folks, do you think blacks are treated equally in your community in housing, education, and employment? Again, 1963, y'all, this is not a hard quiz. It's not difficult. It's not the GRE. This is real basic American history shit. And in retrospect, we all know the answer is no. Of course, black folks weren't being treated equally. The Civil Rights Act hadn't even been passed yet. The Voting Rights Act hadn't been passed yet. The Fair Housing Act was 5 years away from being passed. It's the high watermark of the movement. It's the year of the March on Washington. It's the year that Medgar Evers gets shot down dead in his driveway in Jackson. It's the year that George Wallace stands in the schoolhouse door at the University of Alabama and says, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. It's the high watermark of American apartheid. And when white folks were asked, do you think blacks are treated equally? 2/3 of us said, of course, everything is fine. So what do I make of it? See, because I think most of those white folks were decent people. In spite of their ignorance, I think they were mostly decent folks. I don't think they were hateful people, mostly bigoted people. I think they were mostly decent people. But the fact is, decent people caught up in iniquitous systems get twisted and don't understand the reality in which they live. And so as a result, the vast majority of white folks, despite their best intentions, didn't see what was obvious. Now, here's the thing. If white folks didn't see it in 61 and didn't see it in 62 and didn't see it in 63, why in the hell would I trust white people? And why should you trust white folks to tell you when racism exists in 2017? Why in the hell would you do that?
Hey man, look, Tim cooking. But I got Miss Jackson back. Miss Jackson, go ahead and give me your thoughts, man. Look, because hey, Tim ain't playing with them folks.
Yeah, man, I'm back. Actually, Jackson, I got to apologize. That was on me. My fault. You know, I'm still learning.
Don't click it again. Just don't click it again.
Yeah. I'm getting the feeling, we're sourced by StreamYard, we're powered by StreamYard, so I'm still learning and getting the feel. All right, but being on point on topic, like I say, what makes this Mr. Tim so unique and great and stand out is the fact that we're used to hearing this from our own people, from the civil rights leaders. Let's go back to Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Al Sharpton, and the list goes on and on, Jesse Jackson, and the list goes on and on. But to hear it from their own kind, to just tell the truth about history and the depths of the problem that lies in this country, and the fact that we were deprived and basically stolen, uproot, and kidnapped from our late nation, from our land, from our culture, from our language, from our name, from our people, from our families, from our businesses, from our lives. Makes all the difference in the world. And now we're over here in this man's country who wants to continue to reign supreme. But even in the midst of them trying to delete us and destroy us, we still rise above the occasion. We're still outnumbering them. We're still pretty much, we are the minorities, but we're becoming the majority. And they're still trying to find a way to keep us oppressed and suppressed. And so this is the hypocrisy of our country. And at the end of the day, they even treat their own like that to a certain extent and place them in a category. So I give much respect, much honor to Mr. Tim, who is on fire, cooking, preaching truth, spitting facts, and, addressing the true change that needs to take place.
And look, I know there'll be some people that'll come through and they'll be like, oh, well, he's just saying what you want to hear. And that's why y'all getting behind it and stuff. I'm like, look, I'll tell you this. I bet money you won't pick up your phone and Google it. Google everything he's been talking about, because I promise you it will be confirmed. I would tell you to actually Google the people that talk in opposition of what he says. Go Google what the fuck they say. Go Google what they say and see if it's true. Because a lot of folks in America have been fed lies and they choose to believe it. They might be ignorant or they might just be on that super devil time. Oh, my bad. Demon time. They might be on demon time. Don't let me call him devil. Because, he got to get his own little trophy by himself. But a lot of y'all might be on demon time. Go Google it. Test your knowledge out and go look at the history of this country and see if this man talking shit. But sometimes it takes, a lot of folks won't hear it unless it's somebody that look like them saying it. So obviously we got him up here to say it to the folks that we need to hear it. But let's keep going.
Because any white person that questions the reality of racism in 2017 reminds me of their parents and their grandparents who said the same thing when it was blatant. People of color have always seen it and they've always been right. White folks have never seen it and we've always been wrong. And I have a hard time believing that suddenly we figured it all out and black and brown folks lost their mind. I have a hard time believing that's what happened. But when these black folks take a knee, that's basically what we're saying. What are you complaining about? What in the world are you complaining about? But it's the very same thing that was said. There's never been any point where white America endorsed black protest. Not one time in this country's history can you point to a time when white folks on the whole believed that black protest was justified, even in the 60s, when now, in 1966, Gallup did a poll where they asked white folks what they thought about black protest, and literally like 75% of white folks said that if they were black in America, they wouldn't be protesting anymore by 1966. This coming from people that lost their mind over some taxes on tea, y'all. White folks were like, you taxed our tea. No damn way we're dumping that shit in the harbor and we're starting a revolution. But if y'all are lynching us and like denying our equal right, no, we're not going to protest that. But some tea taxes, oh no, hell no. Right? I mean, this is ridiculous, right? But this is sort of where we're at. And I just want us to think about what it means that white America, by and large, has never been able to see. It's also about, I think, important to understand that this manipulation of white public opinion around the NFL protests is also part of a political strategy. And let's be very clear about that. There's a reason this is what Donald Trump keeps talking about. There was an article in Politico just a couple days ago. Y'all ought to read it. It's about, there was a reporter that went to Pennsylvania, went to Western PA, right? And started interviewing Trump voters about how they felt the year out. And here's the thing, like most people, it doesn't matter who you voted for. Like most people, you could be liberal, you could be conservative, you could be a Democrat, you could be a Republican, you could be anything else. Most people will never admit they screwed up, right? It's just a psychological thing. Like most people just aren't going to do it. Like, it's not just those folks. Like most of us are just not going to do it. Like somebody that we voted for could totally start a war and we'd act like it hadn't happened. Like that's honest to God, that's the truth. The psychology of it is we just don't admit when we mess up because then we have to own the mistake and it's hard. And so I get it. But anyway, the political.
That's why this channel stands for what it stands for, and that's why it's on the logo. And it's going to be on some hats in a little while, and we're going to have some people walking around with it. Accountability and responsibility. If we fuck up, we fuck up. And we have to own it. It's just like saying I'm sorry when you're wrong. A lot of people don't understand just saying you're sorry and meaning it will feel a whole lot better than sitting there defending the bullshit that you did for years. And we have people that will never admit they're wrong. You can't grow as a person until you take accountability for what the fuck you did. Responsibility for what the fuck you did. But, you have a lot of people, like he said, they'll just ignore it.
A reporter goes out to Western PA, goes to Johnstown, which is outside of Pittsburgh. And he's talking to these folks, like multiple generations in the mining industry or whatever. And he asks them sort of how things are a year later. And they're like, oh, everything sucks. Oh, it's a shithole. Like we're still in the same position we were in a year ago. Nothing's really changed. Everything's horrible. And he's like, oh, well, then you must like put that on the president, right? Oh, no, it's not the president. No, we still support the president 100%. And he goes through this whole process of how that is, right? And really you should read the article. I mean, I'm going to summarize it, but essentially you listen to what they say. And it's rather obvious that what they find endearing about this president, they say things like, well, I just like the fact, that what he's doing on immigration. The reporter says, well, he hasn't built the wall and he's not going to build the wall. It's not really going to happen. He's like, I don't even give a shit if he builds the wall. It's just the fact that he knows they don't belong here. Right? So it's more about the pose than the actual policy. It's more about saying they don't belong. It's more about finding an enemy and reminding people who the enemy is than actually getting anything done. So they all say, well, like, he hasn't brought any jobs back. It's like, I didn't expect him to. Oh, but they told us that's why you voted for him, was because of economic anxiety and the need for jobs. That's what they told us. He's like, well, we didn't expect him to really bring jobs back. We know we're never going to get those jobs back. Coal jobs aren't coming back. But at one point, the most ubiquitous thing that these folks said, the reporter says, is that it was about the NFL protest. It was about this idea that this was symbolic for them of something bigger than anything that would actually improve their lives. Just having a president who pointed to an enemy and said, that's who you should hate because they make millions of dollars and you don't. And they make millions of dollars just playing a game. Imagine that. And y'all are struggling to survive. It was just that attitude. It was just basically, essentially what these folks were acknowledging was that their entire vote for this man was about flipping off people they didn't like. It was the political equivalent of a ball grab, right? It's about guys.
I'm going to stop right there because that's a point, and I'm bringing me and you up here, Mr. Jackson. It's a point that I've been pushing across. I've been trying to push this across to people to get them to truly understand the psyche of people that voted for Donald Trump that truly are in the MAGA cult, because it is a cult. These people did not vote for him because he was going to make their lives better. That was just things they say to try to justify why they voted for him. But the true reason that they voted for him, in my honest opinion, just from my observation on the outside looking in, they voted for this guy because he was going to harm other people. Give me your thoughts. Because that's what I truly believe. They voted for that nigga because he thought he was going to hurt some other folks. He's going to make other people's lives harder. Not fix their lives, make other people's lives harder. Give me your thoughts.
Right. And to keep us stuck as a people, as a country, as a land, and just like Tim was talking about, or you mentioned as well, that, until we learn to take responsibility and accountability, we cannot grow as a person. So just like that's on the individual scale, that grows to a national scale as well. When we can start at home with our families, in our neighborhood, in our communities, and overall to a national level. You know what I mean? So, and until the nation can admit and acknowledge its error and its mistakes, then we can further grow to get ahead and move forward. It's just the same as equivalent to a drug addict. You have to first admit there's a problem in order to solve that problem. And until you choose to stay stuck or be in denial and live a lie, you're no longer, you're going to stay stuck in that problem. You're no longer going to get the answer that you need or serenity or sobriety. So yeah, man, they voted for him just to keep us stuck in a nutshell so they can stay the way they are because they're so comfortable in that. A lot of people are scared of change because they don't know the outcome or what that change may bring. So they feel more comfortable staying stuck and, hey, let's stay doing what we got to do to reign supreme and be superior so we can be in charge of this country.
Right, there's been a talking point, and I've been around, like I say it all the time, I've been around white folks all my life. I lived with white folks for 2 years, and I know one of their biggest fears in America is that if these black folks get control of this country, they are going to treat us the way that we treated them. I hear it all the time. And the funny thing about it is, black folks ain't going to treat you the way y'all treated us, because sad part, black folks probably one of the most forgiving, if not the most forgiving group of people on the planet. And I'm gonna say that especially for FBAs. I ain't gonna talk about my brothers and sisters across the sea, but we are very forgiving, because we have black folks that make excuses for white folks all the time, but don't have no excuse for their own folks.
But you know what that is, man? That's a guilty conscience talking, because they know karma is a bitch.
Yeah, people are swearing down that ain't nothing happened, but as soon as you get to that point, then they start try to what's the word for it? They try to make excuses. They try to make excuses for things that happened in the past. And it's like, why would you make excuses for something that you're not involved in? Because that's always the first excuse. I didn't have nothing to do with that. I didn't do it, but you make excuses for it. Why are you making excuses for something that's evil that you didn't have nothing to do with? Because you have some connection to it that you believe in. We got Hurricane in the building. He out here in these city streets.
What's good? What's good? I'm on my way to work. I just wanted to chime in real quick for a couple minutes before I head on in. Man, Timber's on fire. Miss Jackson, you said the coldest shit of the night. I'm like, damn, like I got nothing, to say after that, but I'm like, damn, no, you just killed it with that. And yo, Jada, you on point, you on fire. Shoot, and yes, white folks are scared of us doing them like Black Snake Bone.
Right on, my brother.
Oh yeah. This is Hurricane JW. Catch me on YouTube, home of the Fuck the Government podcast. My bad, y'all. I can't hear you. I think you muted. Is you muted?
Yeah, I'm muted. God damn it, I was talking like a motherfucker and I was on mute. Ain't nobody telling me I was on mute. Fucking hey, we got done up in the building. Done. If you watching this video, I wrote you a message. Send me that picture we took when you came to town. I'm sorry, y'all. Sidebar. Send me that goddamn picture that we took before we left. But nah, man, a lot of people need to come to terms with this shit, man. Like, for real. It's nothing like ripping the Band-Aid off. There's nothing like ripping the Band-Aid off. Like you said, Miss Jackson, you cannot fix a problem until you address the fact that you have a fucking problem. And from what we deal with in America is like these motherfuckers just... I said it in the video. I said it in the short, and some people didn't like it. I said we treat racial relations in this country the same way we treat the national debt. We just kick that shit down the road for the next generation to deal with it. We're not going to address it. Like this current generation do not want to touch it. The generation before us did not want to touch it. Rectify it, fix it, none of that. None of them want to touch it. They're going to send it down the road for their kids to deal with it. And that's where I think a lot of white folks should be mad at their own ancestors. Because they should have fixed the problem when they so-called freed the slaves. You should have fixed it then. But you didn't want to fix it. You pretty much doubled down on this shit after the fact. And now we're to this point where black people have a certain sentiment in America. And now white people have this resentment for being viewed a certain type of way while they're benefiting off the shit that these evil motherfuckers in front of them did. So it's kind of like, bitch, rip the fucking Band-Aid off. I'm trying to tell you, I promise white folks this. Y'all give every black family $1 million. They ain't, look. You probably won't have no black folks in America.
I'm going to the Philippines.
Yeah, I'm like, it's at 13%, man. You can get that black problem out of your country and get it all the way down to probably about 1.2%. 1 to 2%. Because a lot of black folks don't get the fuck up and get the fuck on. Just get it over with. But they refuse to get over with it. They refuse to say our ancestors were wrong. We need to right this wrong. They willing to goddamn, y'all know this, right? I don't know if people know this. But the people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, they are suing the federal government.
But it was the FBI. Most of them was FBI agents. It's confirmed. 5,000 FBI agents.
Oh yeah. So these fuckers are suing the federal government for wrongful persecution when we watch them bitches on video.
Right. That shit crazy.
But niggas can't get shit for being enslaved and being persecuted, being targeted by the police and all that shit. None of that shit can happen. But they gon' sue. And I bet money Trump gon' fucking award them the money. Because it's a federal lawsuit. I bet money he'll be like, yeah, just gonna give him the money. Just gonna give him the money.
Yeah. Giving it right back to the FBI. Yep. That was a whole scam for the FBI to get some bread.
Yep. And we got Uncanny in the building. Uncanny says something. He go, let's get back to Tim Wise. Let's get back to him because we got a few more minutes. I think I can do about 30 more minutes of him, and then we can chop it up for a second. Let's see. Let's see what he getting back on. And Hurricane, do not get hit by a car walking to work.
Guys just grabbing, right, and saying "F all y'all." That's basically what this is, and they all but said it. So when he starts talking about NFL players, he knows exactly what he's doing. We can make fun of him on Twitter, We can talk about why don't you just do your job and do stuff. But the fact is he's doing what he thinks his job is. And it's the oldest play in the playbook of this country, which is rich white people telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. Because that is the oldest play in the book. That's not new. People act like this is some unprecedented stuff. You'll hear people say that. You'll hear liberal folks say that, oh my God, we've never seen anything like this. This is unprecedented. And black folks are like, have y'all been paying attention to like, if y'all saw that SNL sketch like the week after the election, y'all remember when Chris Rock came back and Dave Chappelle hosted and they did that sketch with those white people and they had their one black friend who was Dave Chappelle, of course, because if you had one black friend, it would be Dave Chappelle. And they were in the Brooklyn flat watching the returns. You remember this sketch? And it was like, the white folks were just confident. They were just like, we got this. Hillary Clinton is going to be the first female president. It's a great night. And Chappelle's like, yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. Because Dave Chappelle's character knew something about this country that his white friends didn't want to acknowledge, which was it wasn't nearly as easy as they thought it was. And then the returns start to come in. And, one of the white folks says, well, of course, Kentucky went for Trump. I mean, that's where all the racists live. And Chappelle's character says, really, all the racists live in Kentucky? Is that right? And he's like, well, of course. And then returns keep coming in and they get Vermont. Vermont goes for Secretary Clinton. And the white folks are all excited. Well, Vermont. And Chappelle says, oh, snap, with their 4 electoral college votes, that's really going to make a difference. And then the returns keep coming in. And finally, when it's obvious that Trump has won, Chris Rock's character comes in and the white folks are like, this is the most racist thing that's ever happened in America. And Chappelle's character says, yeah, my great-grandfather told me about that, but what did he know? He was a slave. In other words, the point of this sketch, right, which was brilliantly conceived and written, was to say to white folks, y'all got knocked off stride by this because y'all actually didn't know the country you lived in. And people of color always knew the country they lived in. And if we had been listening to them, maybe we could have kept it from becoming the country that it is. But we didn't want to listen. We didn't want to listen.
You're goddamn right.
We didn't want to hear the reality of who we were. And so now Donald Trump is playing the same tune that everybody's been playing. You go back to the colonies, this is the oldest play in the book. Rich white people telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies. There's no such thing as white people in the colonies. European people didn't love each other. We hated each other. We spent most of our time killing each other. That was the whole history of Europe, was basically killing each other and looking for who the witch was. That's pretty much European history. I mean, honest to God, I'm just saying like that. That's pretty much what we did. Oh, I need that water. Thank you. We just look for the witch and kill folks. And all of a sudden in the colonies, there's no white people. The Anglos hated the Irish hated the Anglo, the Germans hated everybody hated them right back. The Northern Italians didn't even think the Southern Italians were Italians, right? There was no European unity. This wasn't one big happy family. But all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1700s, it becomes necessary to create this thing called the white race. Why did that happen? Well, because the landowners looked around and they could do math. And the landowners looked around and they realized, my God, man, we got all these African enslaved folks and these European indentured servants, and pretty soon they're going to figure out we're screwing all of them. So we better figure out something to get some of these people on our side, or otherwise they're going to take our stuff. So all of a sudden, you got these rich folks telling these poor landless peasants who were of European descent that they're better than even the highest black person. They don't have anything. They don't own any human beings. They don't own slaves. They don't own the shirt on their back, but you're going to make them think that they do, like W.E.B. Du Bois would later call it the psychological wage of whiteness. The idea that you may not have much, but at least you're not black. You may not have much, but at least you're not brown. You may not have much, but at least you're not a person of color. And so, in effect, you extend these little advantages. You let white folks vote, at least if they're men, you let them own land, and you put the white men on the slave patrol. And you get rid of indentured servitude, and you tell these white men that don't have
that was after the Baker Rebellion.
You're going to keep your eyes open on those black folks. You're going to tell us.
Hey, tell Hurricane, go ahead and tell him real quick, like, he's saying those folks that he put on the slave patrol, what are those people now?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was right after the Baker's Rebellion.
Who are those people now in today's time? The people that
shit are motherfucking bosses that I gotta go see today.
No. Hey, ain't your goddamn boss. You going to the police? You gonna
Hell no, oh shit, they're the police, they're the slave catchers and night watch. You already know.
That's those same people, man. Give them a position. Tell them they better than somebody else, and they don't give a fuck what they do to you. Like, cause you know how Lyndon B. Johnson, I think it was, that said he could have these Negroes voting Democrat for the rest of their lives. A lot of them don't remember the quote that he said after that about him telling the poor white person that if he told them that they were better than the poor black, that these poor whites would just open up their wallets and just give it to them. And you know what the funny thing is? He's a great philosopher because he was goddamn right. He was right. We have poor white people fighting to uphold a system that fucks them over while they're being fucked. They're getting fucked by their own people. Their own people at the top are fucking them, but they will uphold their people fucking them because they feel like their people are gonna fuck black folks up.
Yup, you already know. And that shit is a motherfucker. Viva la revolution.
That's why the Democrats wouldn't even let Bernie run. They wouldn't even let him even get a chance to sniff that White House. Because they knew he wasn't with the bullshit. A lot of people say, oh, the Republican Party's racist. No, we call out the Democratic Party too. There's a lot of racists in the Democratic Party too. They saw somebody that wanted to do something that has always said doing something for everybody. They saw him about to try to run for office, and they saw that he had pulled. It's like, nope, not even gonna platform him. Hillary's gonna do it. Right. Not even gonna give the nigga a chance.
Yep.
People need to open their eyes and see what the fuck is actually going on.
And speaking of Hillary, as soon as Trump got in here, he ain't even locked that bitch up. That was his whole campaign. Lock her up. I'm like, hey, yo, nigga, lock this bitch up. Like, nah, nigga, we ain't gonna think about that right now. Let's do this Operation Whoop Speed shit.
Yep. But look, all Trump got to do is just get people triggered on something. Like, it was lock her up, build the wall. Motherfucker ain't got no wall. That bitch ain't in jail. It's like, these people fall for shit that it will not change your day-to-day life. The things that he ran on. They talk about the economy now. The last time he ran, the economy been fucked up with him. For all y'all that got stocks, oh, them stocks been going up and down like a motherfucker. It's like a fucking yo-yo. It's been going up and down like a yo-yo.
And people are still stupid. People don't even understand that we had problems when Clinton was in office, but like they overlooked that because Clinton got his dick sucker play the saxophone. I'm like, nigga, this nigga Clinton did that NAFTA shit and pushed our shit over motherfucking seed. Like, what the fuck? This nigga fucked up everything. Fucked up a lot of jobs for people.
Yeah, he really did, man. Look, when it came to selling out the average American for corporations, he played a big part in it.
And it just showed anything come out of his mouth is a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, Hurricane, he told me he's gonna lock Hillary up about the wall, all this, all that. Then they want to think that the economy was so sweet the first time he got in office, but that came from Obama. They got to look at the fact Obama was in office 8 years. 8 years. Now Trump back in for the time we got $10 a damn quart. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, come on. So yeah, it just proves he's a lie. And this last time he just ran this to stay out of jail. That's all that was about.
Well, look, that's all that was. And get elected, stay out of jail. And I'm gonna show y'all something funny because I'm gonna show y'all
and to get Vince McMahon out of prison too. You know, to save Vince McMahon also, because like Linda McMahon is in Trump's cabinet, so you know, like they has double team to get Vince out.
Yeah, she the head of the Department of Education. She want to dismantle the Department of Education. That bitch don't even know who the fuck Rosa Parks was. That bitch stupid. Fucking I'm gonna let it run in a second, but I'm gonna show y'all before we leave up out of here because I posted it a little bit earlier. Trump supporters don't stand on what the fuck they claim they stand on. Because if everything he ran on, supposedly what he said, law and order and all that, they don't truly believe in it when it comes down to it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show y'all 2 videos because they actually had a Trump supporter speaking on if Jesus came back today. But either way, though, let's keep going.
When they're trying to escape, you're gonna be the buffer between us and them. These white folks are like, oh, okay, I'm on the team, right? And all of a sudden, those rebellions that had begun to foment in the 1600s between black and white folks working together start to dissipate because now these rich folks have convinced poor folks that they have more in common with rich folks than other poor folks. That's white supremacy. Fast forward to the Confederacy. That's what the rich white folks in the South, my part of the country, said. They all openly acknowledged why they wanted to secede. They didn't lie about it because they had no shame about it. We lie about it now. And John Kelly can go on national television and lie about it. And he knows he was lying. He knows full damn well that the Civil War was not caused by a lack of a willingness to compromise. He knows. But he's pandering to part of Donald Trump's base that believes that marinates in white rage and political anger. And so what's the reality? The South, my people told y'all. Like, we just told y'all. We didn't have any shame about it. We just stood up and said, Alexander Stephens, the vice president of the Confederacy, said, the cornerstone of our new government is the great truth that the Negro is not the equal of the white man. He said that. I didn't say that. I didn't put those words in his mouth. He said it. We got people lying about it now, but he was clear about it then. Every state that seceded told y'all why they left, and they told you it was about the desire to maintain slavery and extend it into the territories that had been captured to the West. They all said that. They gave no other reason, not one other reason but that. And yet here's the problem. Rich folks don't have any intention of going to war to fight for their own property. Rich folks not going to go to fight to protect their interest in slave ownership. They're going to get poor people to do that. Right? Rich people don't go to war. Rich people get poor people to go to war. Rich people get doctors to write notes saying they have heel spurs so they don't have to go to Vietnam. That's what rich people do. And so the rich came to the poor in the South and said, y'all need to go fight this war. And you would think that's ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? Why would you go fight to protect my interest in the ownership of human beings when you don't even own any human beings? Why would you do that? That's not your ownership. That's not your property. That's my property. Y'all not going to come fight for my house? Like, if a military army invaded my block next week, I don't think I could call any of y'all and be like, hey, listen, there's an army invading my block. I have no intention of fighting to protect my own house. I'm going to sit on the back porch and drink mint juleps. But I would greatly appreciate it if you would come and defend my shit for me. Like, none of y'all are going to be like, I like that speech you gave in Denver. I'll be there in a minute. Like, none of y'all are going to do that. No matter how much you like what I have to say, you're going to be like, you need to defend your own shit. Like, that's what you're going to do. But the rich came to the poor and said, y'all need to do it. And the poor were like, okay. Why? Because the rich told the poor, if you don't do this, they're going to take your jobs. No, fool, they already have your job. That's how the market works. If they have to pay $1 a day for you to work on the farm and they can get a slave to do it for nothing, guess who got the job? Free got the job. In other words, the slave system actually underbid white labor, and you'd have been better off joining with black folks to overthrow aristocracy rather than defending aristocracy. But once again, rich people told poor people, your enemies are black and brown. And now we got the same thing with the wall and the issue of immigration. We got somebody saying, oh, white people, your jobs will come back if we just build the wall. For real, is that how you think capitalism works? You think that's how capitalism works? You just build a wall and it's like, oh my God, we got to give everybody a raise. They figured it out. I think that's what every CEO's like. I hope they don't think about the wall. Because if they just think about building a wall, we're screwed. We're going to have to empty our profits to give bigger wages. No, that's not how capitalism is rooted in the notion of free markets that allow the mobility of money. And if you allow a system that allows mobility of capital, which is still going to be allowed, no matter if you build a wall tomorrow, theoretically, and I say theoretically because if you've ever been on the border, you know that shit is not practical. Like, there are rivers and mountains and stuff. I mean, people that say you can build a wall on the American-Mexico border, U.S.-Mexico border, have never been there, number one. But theoretically, you could build one. That's not going to stop capital from moving, right? It's not like the wall exists in cyberspace. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I'm going to move some money to the Cayman Islands. I'm going to move some money to the Cayman Islands. Hit send. Boink, it hit the wall. Oh, my God, what happened? Damn it, I should have done it before they built the wall. That's not how the wall works. If the capital can still move and the goods can still move, but labor can't move, if you allow capital to be mobile and goods to be mobile, but you don't allow labor to be mobile, guess what you just did? By definition, this is Econ 101. This is not complicated stuff, right? You just tilted the game in favor of capital and against labor every time. Labor would be better off to have a more militant and larger working class in this country fighting for better wages and living standards and benefits than trying to keep folks on different sides of an artificial wall. But it's perfect politically because you can tell people that's why you don't have a job, because those people have taken your job, right? Which I find fascinating. Took my job. Whenever somebody tells me that Mexican, that black person, they took my job. My thing is like, did you have the job yet? Because if you didn't have that job, that shit was not yours, right? Like, I might be more sympathetic to people who say that if like they got the call on Monday from the boss and they were like, hey, John, congratulations, you're hired. And then like on Wednesday, the phone rings and they were like, no, just kidding. I'm giving it to Jose. Goodbye. Like, that would be unfair. I would be upset. Like, I could get a little upset about that. That'd be unfair. It seemed cruel. Right? But that's not what's happening. It's not like some dairy farmer in Iowa was waking up at 4 a.m. to go milk the cows, walking out to the barn, gets out there to the barn at 4 o'clock in the morning, and some black dude hops up from behind a haystack and says, I already milked your cow, Mr. White Farmer.
I see that. And that's one of the big issues that I have right now when it comes to the undocumented deportation and all these things that's going on right now. Because I told people when I covered this last time. Well, at least when I covered the topic of the mass deportations. I don't have a problem with the deportations. I don't have a problem at all. But Tim is alluding to the actual cause, the actual nexus of the problem. You want to kick these people out of the goddamn country because they're here illegally. Every time somebody goes out and does a mass crime or deletes some people or something, the cops always try to figure out, why did they do it? Why did they do it? So why are we not doing that when it comes to the people that are here illegally? Why are they here? And you know why they're here. We all know it. Every American knows it, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. They're here because they can get a goddamn job that pay a lot more than what the fuck their country can pay. But I also know in America, it is illegal to hire an illegal immigrant. But all I see is them rounding up illegal immigrants. Why ain't these, and I'm going to say it, why ain't these white folks going to jail for hiring them? I just want to know a quick question. Why are these white people that are hiring illegal immigrants not going to jail? Because if you're not going to stop the source of it, like, look, I can lock up every drug dealer on the goddamn street. But if I don't go for the supplier, drugs gonna constantly be on this fucking street. Because I can just find another supplier. I can give another street dude to fucking sell some shit. But you don't want these illegal people coming here. Well, they're coming here because they know they can get a fucking job. But you refuse to lock up your own folks. You demonize these people for coming. But your people, the same people that vote for them to get deported, are the same people that goddamn hiring them.
I don't.
Lock their ass the fuck up. And I bet money if you enforce that goddamn law, since we on that law and order shit, I bet money it won't be that many illegals coming. But we, white folks, are so easily told that these Hispanics are your problem. I literally covered a video of a dude out of fucking Key West, Florida, who voted for Trump. He was all for it. He was like, yeah, Trump. Knowing that 1/3 of his entire workforce was illegals. And then bitched and complained when Trump deported his goddamn illegal, 1/3 of his workforce, all his illegals. Trump deported him. He was like, I couldn't believe he did that. The bitch ran on it, dummy. But he should have locked his dumb ass up. Go ahead, Miss Jackson.
Well, I was just saying, man, the rules apply to all. You know, my father called me and, they Trump supporters, my father and his side of the family, on my father's side of the family. And, but he did bring out one point to me. And when we was discussing, how can he be a convicted felon and now he running for president? You got to knock that shit off the map when it comes to asking us that on a job application or, applying for a place to live or anything of that nature. Hey, if our president can be a damn convict, then what difference does it make in life? Ain't no boundaries or rules. And he said, well, technically, once he became the president, he filed for the appeal. And basically they gave him a pardon. So he's saying technically he's not a convicted felon because once he filed for the appeals and stuff, his record was cleared. But I'm still going to stand firm on that.
Trump ain't been cleared of it. Like, you go back and tell your daddy. I'll let you finish, but go ahead and tell your daddy. Now, Trump is still a felon. It's on his goddamn record. That shit did not get up.
So as I'm saying, I stand firm on the man became a president after 34 felony convictions. The facts is right. It's so close in your face you don't want to see it. The facts is there. The proof is in the pudding. And the whole point of the matter is, so if the rules apply to us, it apply to all. And then I'm gonna go a little bit and dibble and dabble on police brutality. That goes to the root of it, man. It's hate crimes. That's the reason why our black brothers, our people, the minorities who have become the majority, the law enforcement is taking their lives, putting them in prison, beating us, deleting us, you name it, committing crimes towards us and hiding behind a damn badge. Because the root to it is hate, is racism. And they're scared of us taking our rightful place, our rightful ownership as the original man. And I don't want to make this religious or spiritual or anything of that nature, but this is what I love about Jesus Christ. He stood as a political figure. He was a revolutionary, and he stood for equality and justice. It doesn't matter of your race. It doesn't matter of your gender or your status, rich or poor. We are equal. We are all God's children. And at the end of the day, it is your human right, your civil duty right to have your freedom, to be able to exercise your power and the laws as a human being, your God-given duty to be treated with the utmost respect. Mr. Tim talked about, I forget the gentleman's name, where a quote was made that the white folks said that the Negroes are not equal to us. And so that just goes to show you the stereotype, the prejudice, the racism, the hate, and the discrimination. And it is our God-given right to be treated as human beings, as equals, as men, as women, as adults. You know what I'm saying? To have our freedom and live our life in peace.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's why I'm glad you said something. Because when you talk about, you spoke on Jesus. Listen to a Trump supporter in 2025. Oh, my bad. Hold up. Let me go back. They're going to rewind that back. This is a Trump supporter in 2025.
If Jesus was here right now, would you let him in?
Of course I would.
Why?
As long as he went through the proper, as long as he
came here legally. As long as Jesus Christ came to this country legally, we would let him in.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. No, thank you.
If Jesus was here.
That's a Trump supporter in 2025. If Jesus Christ came back right now, they say they would let him into this country if he came legally. Jesus Christ. And I actually had a back and forth with a guy in that comment section. He said Jesus wouldn't break the law. They don't know the Bible, and they don't know the people that they claim they align with and they pray to. Jesus broke a lot of laws. That's why they put his ass on the cross. That's why they put him up there. Jesus never broke God's law. He never broke the 10 Commandments. But man's law? Oh, Jesus broke a lot of them because they went against his father's law. And they crucified him for that shit. But these folks will sit in America right now and say, look, if Jesus Christ came into this country and he didn't come legally, well, if he did come legally, we'll let him in. We got Red over here saying it was all political from the jump when it comes to Trump. I'll just ask this question. If it was all political on Trump from the jump, let's give you that it was political. They wanted to go after him because it was political. I only have one question to ask you. Did he do it? What he got convicted of, did he do it? And that's where your argument falls apart, because he did. He did exactly what he got convicted of. You can talk about whatever the fucking motivation was. I don't care. Did he break the fucking law? Yes. Yes. Red said, I'm sorry, Hurricane. I'm read your comment first. He said, damn, my phone keeps screwing up. I think it's frequency bouncing off of each other downtown. Could be because, you got a lot of radio waves going down there. But Red said, do what? There's 19 different charges. He was convicted of, if I'm not confused, and if I'm correct, he was convicted of falsifying business records. Also, the shit of raping that girl, like being held liable for it, but that was in a civil suit. But yeah, falsifying business records. Like paying Stormy Daniels with campaign money while his wife was fucking pregnant. does shit like that. And I know some people be like, oh, you know, the lawyer went to jail. Yeah, he went to jail for making the payment for Trump. See, people will sit around here all day and be like, oh, Trump didn't have nothing to do. Trump ain't never had nothing to do with nothing, right? He had nothing to do with nothing. He ain't never did no wrong. That man was cheating on his fucking wife, and you just overlooked that. He paid the bitch to go the fuck away and be quiet. You gonna overlook that. You just gonna blame his lawyer. Y'all some funny people. But the sad part is this is the people. I'm gonna show y'all who these people are. I'm gonna show you who these people are. And say Red said he was not convicted of that. It's still in appeal. Red, for it to be in an appeal, that means there was a judgment. If it's in appeal, there was a judgment. He's trying to appeal the judgment. He was convicted. Like goddamn, Red, stop. Look, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you who Red is, and this is pretty much these Trump supporters.
I believe in the law.
So you're a law and order guy.
Well, I mean, yeah. We don't have rules. What you got? Chaos.
I have to ask. Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud, $385 million.
So?
Law and order.
I'm not electing a priest.
I know, but does that bother you that he was found guilty of that, being a law and order person?
Well, compared to what?
I'm saying he did a thing that was very illegal. He owes hundreds of millions of dollars. You're a law and order guy. Does that bother you?
Well, is he the only one that's ever did that?
I didn't say he's the only one who ever did that.
Okay, I know that. That's a loaded question.
Well, it seems A to B. If you really value law and order, but Trump is guilty of crimes, does it bother you that Trump, your guy, did a fraud that is costing him nearly $400 million?
Well, it bothers me, but it ain't going to deter my vote, sir. I still vote for him. If he had 21 million felonies, I'm voting for him. I believe.
And y'all heard that right here, folks. And that's pretty much the boat that Red's into, because he's come around. It don't matter what that man done did. You can't do it. Y'all darkies can't do it. Anybody that ain't white can't do it. Anybody that's white that's on the Democrat side can't do it. But my guy, he can do it. And we okay with it. And that's why you don't listen to people like that. That's why you don't take their advice. You don't listen to nothing that they say. You don't even give any legitimacy to the argument. I got Red here. Red gonna try to legitimize his argument. But let's see what we got. We got less than 15 minutes. Go on here, Red. Gonna start it off so I can tell you you're wrong.
Listen, man, I'm not up here to defend Trump. I'm up here to tell you I told you so. Because if you remember last election cycle, you guys would always call me a Republican. And I said, no, I'm not a Republican because I'm not voting for Trump because I don't want to go to war with Iran. And you guys call me crazy and paranoid. And look what's happening right now.
No, Red. You said you didn't want to vote because you didn't want to be drafted. You have never voted because you don't want to be
under it doesn't matter what administration it was, we're going to war with Iran.
Red. You're a draft dodger. That's the only reason you didn't vote for them.
I don't want to fight Iran. They're not my enemy.
But you do support Donald Trump, right?
No, I don't. I didn't vote for him.
Nah, it doesn't matter if you voted for him. Do you support what he's doing?
It depends on what it is. I don't support his foreign policy, but I do support mass deportations. I don't support giving Israel aid. I do support fracking.
Well, here you kind of just sat in here and tried to defend him in the comment section with do what? There's
because we all know the whole rigmarole with the court system in America.
Hold on, I'm pulling up. He said, do what? There's 19 different charges.
Because you said, you said Donald Trump was a convicted felon. Like I was arguing against that, and you were like, did he not do it? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Do what? There's 19 different charges. You weren't specific. What didn't he do?
He was convicted of 32. Was it 32 or 34, Jackson?
What's the charge, and what did he actually do?
He falsified fucking goddamn business records.
Oh my God, what a horrible person.
Oh, what a horrible person. Hey, look, I covered a video the other day where a guy supposedly jaywalked and they hit him with a fucking police car.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Oh, God damn it. A person that walks across the street in the wrong spot gets ran over by a police car, but a guy that does fucking
Okay,
business
well,
crime,
think
lying, paying
basic-
off fucking hookers and shit, lying, paying off porn stars, that's not a biggie, but the dude walked across the street. That's a big problem.
Here's what that stupid Republican guy was trying to say. He was trying to say, listen, I'm sure all of those people in Washington, D.C. have hookers and mistresses and
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Red.
Well, maybe not to you, but that's the point.
No.
Point.
Do not bring a child's fucking argument into a grown folks conversation. Because if you had children, you would not take that shit on no fucking stance. If your kid did something wrong, and they say, well, the other kids did it too.
Well,
You don't.
Donald Trump is not my kid.
No, I'm just saying though. If we're gonna be grown, we're gonna be grown. If your kid did something wrong,
Trump is a 80-year-old man. He's not my kid.
Listen to what I'm saying though, because it's a logical point. If your kid did something wrong, and when you tried to reprimand them or hold them accountable for what they did wrong, and their excuse was somebody else did something wrong too, that's not gonna weigh no weight. It's not gonna have any weight in your argument.
It's not excusing them from a behavior from a strategic standpoint, especially from a standpoint of authority. Like if you're talking about kids, we're talking about presidents. We're talking about presidents and presidential candidates here. Okay.
It's not about them, Red. It's not about them. You can keep trying to spin it.
Well, what is your analogy about them?
You're deflecting.
I'm not deflecting. Actually, in fact, by just asking that question, why are you voting for Donald Trump if he's a felon, you're deflecting, because you're deflecting from the fact that everyone else is probably involved, and we all know it.
What do you mean? What the fuck do you mean by that?
Congress, Washington, D.C., they have their own pharmaceutical bank. They have their own pharmaceutical companies. They have, dude, I mean, come on. They have Bohemian Grove. They all gather in the middle of the woods. They do drugs together.
Voting for Trump.
Well, the question has this premise smuggled into it, which is that
it doesn't. You're looking
for law and order, right? You support the law because you think illegals should come in the legal way, but you're voting for this felon who broke the law, right?
You support the law because you support the law. Carte blanche. The law. Period. It doesn't matter.
And that's your mistake.
So guess what?
But that's a false premise.
No. If you support the law, you can't.
No, it's not carte blanche. It's not you support the law across the board, because the law isn't the law across the board. We all know the law can be bent at political tint.
Not. Yeah, look, people support the law when it benefits them and it helps them promote their own evil. And then they don't support the law when it goes after people that they care about.
You don't support the law carte blanche. Nobody can support the law carte blanche because the law does things that are biased in both directions.
And they don't say you're a law and order. Don't say you're a law and order fucking voter or a law and order candidate.
Well, you can say you're a law and order voter if you're against violent crime, for example, in the street.
All right, here, I got you. Red, you say, do you believe in God?
Sure.
Do you get days where you get to just spin off and be like, well, on this day, when it comes to God, it's all fluent and shit. Do you get to do that?
No.
Exactly. So if you support the law, you support the law.
No.
You don't get to pick and choose.
Yes, you do.
And that's the problem. No, just because white people say so don't make it fucking right and don't make it true.
Well, you're really stupid for thinking that, because the law can say one thing that I agree with and say another thing that I don't agree with. That doesn't mean
that's your opinion. Don't say you a vote. Here you go. You cannot say you support the law and you support a law and order candidate and then say you disagree with some laws. Either you no. You can't be 10 toes in. I gave you a good example.
No,
you can't say I believe God. I'm 10 toes in with. No, listen, Red. You can't say you're 10 toes in with God and then say I disagree with some things that God said. Can you?
What is the law?
It's on the books. Read them.
No, what is it? Tell me.
You cannot pay a fucking prostitute, a former porn star, with campaign money. That's illegal. That's the law.
Says who?
The law.
How much money from Congress has been allocated to porn star settlements?
Fuck. Look, nigga, he got it. He got.
No, look it up. Look up how much money from Congress has been allocated to settlements with prostitutes and porn stars. Millions and millions of dollars.
That's fine, man. That's fine. Red, did they get charged?
Why is that fine?
Hold on, Red. Did they get charged?
No, because they settled.
Okay. Guess what? Did they get prosecuted?
It doesn't matter. They settled, which means
it does matter because two things didn't happen. They didn't get charged.
Trump settled too in the civil case.
Didn't settle shit. Trump got charged with that shit.
Trump settled in the civil case.
Yeah, civil, but legally he got prosecuted. On the criminal side, he got prosecuted, didn't he?
On the criminal side, what was he convicted of?
But Red, we're not going to keep going down that same road. I already told you.
And again, I'm not up here to defend Trump. You just have a Trump derangement syndrome.
Hey, look, you saying that, but it sounds like you is.
I have big criticisms against Trump, but they're actually meaningful.
Don't sound like it.
It's not about Democrat politics from 2020.
Sound like you're coming around here jerking this motherfucker off with a 10-foot pole.
I was the motherfucker telling you guys why it's a problem because we're going to be going to war with Iran, and you were telling me I'm stupid.
Hold on. Didn't Trump say he wasn't going to start no new wars?
Yeah, and I said that's bullshit. I said I'm not voting for him because I know we're going to war with Iran.
You support him. Look, you support him, so look, that's on your ends, man.
I never supported the man.
You support that motherfucker because you defend him. If you defend him, you support him.
Okay, so if I defend anybody in any way, even if they were in the right, means I support them?
Obviously, you do.
So if someone who is
name somebody that you don't like that you have never supported.
One thing, and people say it's wrong, but it's actually right, and I disagree with them on that one thing.
Name one person you support that. Name some person that you don't like that you've never supported.
Name a person that I don't like that I've never supported.
Name one.
Bernie Sanders.
You should have said Donald Trump. You should have said Donald Trump.
I like Donald Trump.
You like exactly. Thank you. You like him. You support him. Come here.
No, I like him.
You like him, but you don't support him.
Exactly. I like him as a person, but I don't support him because he's totally compromised. I like his memes. I like the way he talks. It's funny, but I don't support his policies.
You like him. You support him.
No, like and support are two different things. If you don't understand that, you're just an idiot.
Hey, call it what you want, man. You put different words on whatever you want. You have
like for example, you can like Kanye West's music and not support.
Are you gonna buy you a Trump mobile phone?
No. Address what I just said. You can support or you can like Kanye West's music, but not support Kanye West. True or false?
Impossible.
Really? So you can't like old Kanye music and not support Kanye?
How do artists get paid nowadays?
I don't know.
Off of streaming, right? Streaming.
Well, actually, per capita, the artists are actually making most money off of shows.
Okay.
Money off of streaming.
Let's put the shows in there too. Streaming off of listening to their music on whatever app, Spotify, YouTube Music, whatever, or Apple Music, and then also going.
So now you're going to say you're supporting. Well, what if you're getting it illegally? Like for example, the past 3 Kanye West albums were leaks. They weren't even available on YouTube. You had to download them illegally without paying. So you're not really supporting anybody.
Red, you are showing me the prime example of just defending bullshit no matter what. You're trying to find any excuse. I really say this when I have
actual points I'm making to you, man.
You're not making a point. You're sound. Look, when you go back and rewatch this, you're gonna see that your point is stupid. And if somebody said this shit to you, argued to you about a point, the way you're arguing to me about this point, you'll be like, yeah, you're gonna dismiss that person.
What I'm telling you is you can like qualities about a person without supporting that person.
Not if you support what they do.
You can like certain things that they do, but not all of them. Why is that so hard to understand?
Okay, look. If I say And I know you're gonna say no. But if I say I listen to R. Kelly music and I stream his stuff, you're telling me that I don't somewhat agree with whatever he was accused with? Don't say no.
No. If you listen to R. Kelly, I'm not gonna assume you like peeing on girls.
All right, well, guess what? If you hang with dogs, you're gonna get fleas. That's just how we view it. And the sad part is, it's not.
That's a very dumb way to view the world.
Guess what? Guess what? Talk to your people about it.
My people? Who's my people?
They the ones who made the rules.
My people made the rules?
Yeah, your people, white folks, made the rules on that. You lay down with dogs, you're gonna get fleas.
I came in kind of late in the game. I'm Irish and German.
Right here, that actually, that's both of them bad. But either way, though, here real quick.
Irish bad. Who did the Irish colonize?
Y'all was beating up people in New York. But either way, though, let's real quick. Me and you can have this conversation in the back chat. But real quick, we got less than fucking 3 minutes. So Miss Jackson, do a quick final thought, sign off, and then Red, I'm gonna give you a quick final sign off. But we got to go quick as fuck. Less than 20 seconds. Y'all go ahead here. Go, Miss Jackson. Go ahead, go.
All right, final thoughts of the night. It was a great show. At the end of the day, I'm going to stand firm on reverting back to Jesus. He was a barrier breaker. He stood up for the suppressed, the oppressed, the poor. He was a great leader and set the example that everybody should be treated equal, that we are all God's people, we are all God's children, and in other words, you give respect because you want respect in return as an individual. So it was a great show of the night. And as far as white supremacists wanting to reign, that is the root to our problem in this nation, and it affects it all global, all over the world, and it resorts back to hate. It is all a hate crime. So until we can address the problem and recognize there's a problem, then we can conquer that problem. I'm Kenique Jackson. You can reach me on YouTube at School for Justice, where we live, love, learn, and laugh.
All right, now, Red, go ahead real quick.
Yeah, you definitely have to address the problem before you can even think of a solution. I'm Red Illusion, by the way. You can find me at Red Illusion on YouTube, Instagram. I just dropped a new art portfolio. But I'm really dubious of this claim that America is designed against Black people, when the very system of America is what wrote the 13th Amendment, it's what issued civil rights, and it's what integrated the schools, as well as restaurants and otherwise, at gunpoint.
All right, well, here, take this. We'll talk about it. Red, stay here. I want you to talk about it in the back chat. Y'all, I appreciate y'all. If I could do a part 3, I would, but we ain't going to be able to do that. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Like, subscribe, share, turn the notice on. Shout out to Tim Wise. Did a great job. But we'll catch y'all in the next one. As always, man, fuck it.
Don't tell me about me. Stop telling 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 me about me. I don't need you to tell me about me.